Just going to
Take your
take a few
time.
seconds. Hi, thank you so much for joining us here on LinkedIn Live. My name is Makita Waterman, and I have my amazing relaxation coach, Cecil McIntosh, on the line here. We are streaming on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Today, we wanted to talk to all of you about how difficult it can be to be in a difficult patch in your relationship, your love relationship. But I'm sure some of these tips can also help you professionally, with your business, etc. And Cecil McIntosh is going to provide some insight on how you can mentally and emotionally deal with this, and maybe even some conversational pieces on how we can get through these moments in time. Cecil, did you want to start it off?
So what's your first question to me? Let's do it this way.
The question I want to ask today is, let's take, for example, somebody's doing their best to be the best version in their relationship. As everyone else, they might have some hangups from the past, but they're in a rough patch right now. What do you recommend to all the people that might be going through this situation?
Well, I would like to take a step back.
Okay.
Because any issue you have, in my perspective, you've created the problem. So let's not start blaming anybody here. Let's start from the start. Let's get real. You are the problem. So here's what happens. You meet someone and you say you go dancing. Let's dance, you go dancing. You meet someone and you decide, oh, this relationship is wonderful. Let's get married. Let's get together in a relationship. So you do. But you find after a while that the only thing the person can do is dance.
Right.
And the time you didn't. So now you're stuck with somebody who all they can do is dance. Or I have a friend of mine, she wanted to have somebody who has a high degree. And she married him, but she does everything in the house. She does everything. He doesn't do anything. But she got what she wanted. So the first step here is, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Most of us are settling for so much less than we deserve. And the reason for that is we don't know what we want.
Right.
And I can put my hand up and say, I'm one of those people because I was divorced and bankrupt. So I'm not trying to pretend that I know more than you do. Right. And then what I realized is that I was like, I didn't know what I want. Now, so basically, if you work with me, there are 4 values that you have to have, but forget about that for now. The point I'm making is you need to know what you want and you need to know what you value. So when you get into a relationship, for example, lady says to me, Cecil, having problems. So what happened? When we first met, we were having such good times. We would go roller skating. We have dates. I says, and then we have this child. Child came into life. I said, what happened? Well, I started spending a lot of time with the child. I forgot about my husband.
Mm.
The problem I'm making is you do not make compromises in your relationship.
Right.
Let me make that quite clear and so you understand. No compromising in your relationship. What exactly do I mean by that? There's certain things that you stand for. There's certain things that you believe in. Certain things that are important to you. For example, it's important for you to have fun. It's important for you to have conversations with your partner, right? It's important for you to go out with your partner. It's important for you to have certain beliefs about who your source is, right? That's important. And so what happens to most of us is we get into a relationship and all of a sudden now, say we have a child or whatever happens, then we don't have dates anymore. We're too busy.
That's right.
But here's the problem. Let me step back again and we go up to another level now. The reason why we're in relationships is only one reason. We want to be happy.
That's right.
Everything else. Everything else in between there is totally irrelevant. We want to be happy. That's why we're in a relationship. We want to get together and bring what we have, what the other person have, bring it together as a union. That's what we think we're doing. But unfortunately, the happiness goes through the window as soon as we have a child or as soon as we have a disagreement. Now, if we focus on being happy, we wouldn't have an issue. So you can say to yourself, okay, fine. I want to maintain being happy. I agree with you. I'm staying in my values. So how am I going to stay in my values without having conflict? Well,
Right.
here's what you need to do. You need to go get some help. You need to find somebody who can help you. But you might say to yourself, so why should I go get help to make him happy or make her happy? I ain't doing it. Okay, I heard you. I heard you loud and clear. Well, let me explain something. Let me give you another little take on that. The secret here is, if you were working with me, is I would give you the tools. Like there are a lot of issues we have from the past and a number of things we have. Like we have anger problems, emotional, we have fears, anxiety. I would help you clean those things up. In addition to that, I would help you to understand what it means like to have a conversation. Like what happens when we get in a relationship, when we get to a certain point, we start shouting at each other. Right? Before we met, we weren't shouting. All of a sudden now we're shouting. So you're saying, well, Cecil, it was wonderful in the beginning. I like my partner, so now you're going to get help. But the help you're going to get is going to teach you to be the better person that you can be, right? So all the issues you have, all the anger problems you have and whatnot, just deal with those. Then you will get you got to get some skills now to have a conversation. So when you have a conversation, you need to understand that the person in their ignorance don't know how to have a conversation. The person in the ignorance don't know what intimacy is like.
Right.
The person in the ignorance don't realize that you guys need to bond together. And yes, you're going to fight, but then you need to understand that you need to come to understanding. Right? So what you need to do is to get some help so that when the person gets upset, it doesn't upset you. So when you have your values now and you're grounded in your values, and your partner says something, you're not going to respond in a very aggressive manner, a tone of voice, right? You're going to be able to say, my partner is a wonderful person, but he or she doesn't know any better. My responsibility is to educate them. But because I have that training, I'm not going to lose my cool.
Right.
Because I know that they don't know any better. So if both of us don't know any better, we got a problem. But because I know better now, I'm going to be able to have some compassion, right? I'm going to be able to say sorry when I'm not even wrong, right?
Right.
And I'm going to be able to, I'm going to be able to be stupid. Let me explain that. You can call it stupid, you can call it common sense. But I like stupid better. If you're stupid and you understand that the person doesn't know any better, if you're stupid enough to understand the person doesn't know any better, you're way ahead of the game. Because you can find a way to educate them. And when you educate that person, right? Imagine the person comes to you and they're raw and you educate them. Imagine what happens when the person is raw. You understand now what's going on. The person is a wonderful person and you educate that person. Can you imagine what kind of bond you all will have for the balance of your life?
Right.
Right? But then you might come out and say to me, Cecil, well, let's assume I come to you now, or I go someplace where I get some help, and the person it doesn't work out. What's going to happen? Well, let me tell you something. It would be in this situation, you cannot lose because if the person stays, you can educate them, you can have a wonderful relationship. If they don't stay, you're ready for the next relationship because you have all the issues cleaned up. You realize that this person is going to come and have some issues. You're going to have to work with them. So that's what's beautiful about it. So if you have a relationship where the values help you to identify the person that's fits what you want. What I mean by values is the person who comes into your life brings 90% of what you want, not what they want. They have to match your values. That's what I'm talking about. Let's make sure I understand where I'm coming from. So in my case, the person didn't match my values. So I'm guilty here. So I developed a system saying They must match your values. In other words, they bring all the things you have. So bring 90% of the things you want into the life. So it means only 10% you got to deal with. Because the other 90%, you cannot have a relationship with them because the values don't match. And you
I
know
have a
that.
question. I have a
Go ahead.
question. Can we focus a little bit more on people who are married and in long-term relationships? Because I think those people, that's like the single people. But what about people that are in um, marriages? They have children, their mortgages are tied up, their finances are tied up. The pandemic, unfortunately, broke a lot of, not the pandemic, but people staying in at home and staying within themselves caused a lot of disruption and divorces throughout North America. So how about people that are currently feeling like maybe they want a divorce, maybe they want to break up? What's the best first step for them
Okay.
to realize in this moment?
Well, let's put it this way. Same basic thing. If you think that the relationship is worth having,
Right,
right? I'm talking to one person, I'm not talking to two people, who whichever
right.
male or female. If you think a relationship is worth having, uh, keeping, and you can make it work, you got to ask yourself, okay, what issues do I have? You got to look at yourself
Mhm.
first. Got to examine
Right.
yourself, right? When you examine yourself, you have to decide, can I fix this myself or do I need to go get some help?
Hmm.
That's basically where it is. Now, in getting the help, what you need to do is you need to be able to stay in a quiet place. So when you
Mm.
have these tools to stay in a quiet place, so that when the person is when you have to have a conversation with that person, that you can have the conversation and not get upset, not lose your cool. That's why I say
Right.
you got to. That's why I say you got to be a bit stupid, right?
Hmm.
If you understand that you need to accept it. So you do something is an issue and you are wrong. You're sorry you didn't do anything,
Hmm.
right? And you have been able to control your anger. These are basic things. I don't care where you're coming from. These are things that the person who wants to has to have. The attitude they have to have. They also have to
Right.
come from a place of compassion. So no matter what's
Right.
going on, and most important, they have to be able to have a conversation.
Right.
If you can't have a conversation, doesn't matter whether you're single, married, you have to have a conversation, and you have to be able to allow. Now, listen carefully. Now, you have to be able to allow that person to speak,
Right.
and you have to be able to keep quiet, shut up,
Right.
listen. Don't overtalk the person. Don't like two tape recorders while one person. No, but this if you need to get some training for this. You're not over talking here. You
Yeah.
are listening, and you have to find a way to acknowledge so the person knows you acknowledge. So this is what I'm talking about a conversation. So then you can respond in a way that's with a tone of voice that's appropriate, with a tone of voice that would kind of help the person who's talking to you, who's all full. Talk to the person in such a way that every time you talk to them, you help them empty out, and they empty out, and they empty out. So by the time you have a conversation, they are no longer they're empty, they're no longer full, and you can talk. This is what's critical. So whoever it is, they have to be able to be stupid enough to want to do that
Right.
in order to keep the relationship. Go ahead.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Tahar, for putting a message here. Unfortunately, StreamYard doesn't have a translation button, but I will definitely click the translation button once this live stream is done on LinkedIn to understand what you're saying, and then we will answer from there. But if you have more questions, leave them Tahar, Mr. Tahar, and anybody else. So how about Cecil? There's been a lot of, I'm talking for the ladies now, there's been a lot of female empowerment conversations on the internet about this mindset that women can do whatever men can do, which I do agree with, business and the workplace, etc. But what about those women who are like, well, I'm feminine, I have a master's degree, I have a condo, I drive a Mercedes, this is just an example, and I'm the best that I could be, and as a woman I should be able to live in my truth. I don't need to change for a man. There are lots of women out there who have this mindset, whether they're married or single. I don't need to change for him. He should be changing for me. What do we
Okay.
say to those women who are really strong on this mindset?
We must admit that first. This is the truth. This is happening. Let's establish that this is happening. And for
Yeah.
those ladies, they are operating in ignorance,
Okay.
right? They do not. I hear them, and I'm sorry to say it, they do not know any better. And if you were
Right.
to check them out and go deeper, you will find that they are in a lot of pain, right?
Right.
And they are using the money or whatever they have as a mask of
Mm.
the pain, right?
Right.
In a relationship, you don't want to be better than anybody else. You don't
Hmm.
want to be higher than anybody else. That's not what our relationship is all about. It cannot function like that. So that's a myth. That's something that they have learned from somebody, which says you have the money, so therefore you should have this, should have that. A relationship is a bond. But here's where the problem comes in. In the context of the situation you just gave me, those women are what I call, they're looking at the relationship from a subject object perspective. What do I mean by
Right.
that? I am the boss. I have the money. You are the subject. You do what I tell you to do.
Right.
Subject object, right? So therefore, the relationship has no hope because
Oh, wow.
you are the subject.
Hmm.
I'm the sweeper. I'm the cleaner. I don't matter. Why? Because I have the money.
Right.
Those relationships will never last, right?
Ouch. Yeah.
And I'm saying to the women who are doing it, it's not going to happen. And let me explain to you why. Let me give you the facts and figures on that. You see, there's no subject and there's no object. Let me repeat myself. There's no subject, meaning you are important, and there's no object, means you're not important. There's no such thing. However, the ego tells you that. Your conditioning tells you that because of your education. But what I'm
Hmm.
going to say to you now is I'm going to say to you, find out what's behind the subject. You're talking about your subject and you're the object. Find out what's behind the subject. And you would find out that behind the subject is a oneness. There's no separation. We're all one. So whether you make more money than me or not, we're still one. They're not two of us, right? And there's only one, it's something called consciousness. There's only one consciousness. So for example, if you look at the ocean, right? And the river empties out into the ocean, right? And when the river empties out into the ocean, what happens to the river?
Mm.
Ain't no
Comes
more
together.
river. It's just the
Yeah.
ocean, right?
Right.
So this the point I'm making is there is only one. There's not two. But when you understand that your partner and you are one, and you respect that, and you have compassion, when you don't have compassion, it's not compassion about you. It's compassion about your partner too, because you and your partner are the same. So compassion
Right.
is compassion is compassion. So that's the only thing that matters is that we are one and that we need and we are compassion. And it goes right back to what we wanted. When we are one, we're happy. Because when we are one, we don't see the person as different from us.
Hmm.
So it's happiness. But if you think, well, Cecil, it doesn't make any sense. That's okay. But if you think that you're different and you're more important and that you are above me or I'm above you, that is what we talk about the mind body. That's what we talk about the the feelings that you can feel that you're different, right? But in the context of the oneness, there's no feelings. It just is. So when the river empties out into the ocean, there's no complaining. The river doesn't
Right.
complain when it goes into the ocean, right?
Right.
You never hear the river complain. Or you never hear the ocean say, what are you doing coming over here?
Right.
There's no such thing. That's who we are. We are just one consciousness, not two separate entities. And the reason why we think we're two separate entities because we have a body. We can touch and we can feel and we can do that. And then, so then we talk about love. So let's go to love for a moment, and you say and hugging for a moment, right? So we might say, well, we need somebody to be affectionate and whatever. I'm not saying that's not the point, but here's the point I want to make to you. Can you not experience love without touching? Or do you have to touch to experience love? Let me get deeper with this one now. So let's assume that you're in a relationship, and or you see someone, and all of a sudden you feel that connection with the person. You just that wonderful, and it doesn't matter whether it's male or female now. You just feel that connection. Or somebody walks up to you and I want to share with you because, and you wonder why somebody walks up to you, because they feel the connection and they know that you all are one. And they say, well, I got to share with you because we're one. I'm sure all of you experience that. But we don't understand what that means. That's the oneness I'm talking about. You talk to some people and you start, I didn't want to give you everything they've got. They don't want to charge you for it. They want to give it to you because they feel that there's that connection, there's that awareness. That's a touching. But it's not the kind of touching that we expect in a love relationship.
Right. So there has been this study that has gone viral. It was about a month or two ago that in North America, I think it was for the United States, the average man out there has decided to stay single because they feel that North American women have too much high expectations, hypergamy as far as maybe taking care of their bills, or they're saying that the average North American woman is too masculine, meaning they're career driven. They're not really being feminine in their communications and how they carry themselves. And a lot of some percentage of these men are now going to other countries for, not necessarily always to get married, but for that feminine touch. What do you think about, and they call it the red pill community. So what do you feel about the millennial type of man who feels that North American women are not giving them what they want? Their expectations are too high. They can't afford maybe to take care of a woman based on her standards. And now we have this big epidemic of North American men staying single, but they're lonely and depressed as a result of that. What do you have to say about this?
That's a wonderful question.
Right.
There's so much to unpack in this. But where should I start? Oh my goodness, where should I start? First, to begin with, you as a man should not be unhappy. You as a man cannot be unhappy. It's impossible for you to be unhappy. You should ask yourself, what's the reason for me being unhappy? Because I want a partner to make me happy.
Yeah.
So you want a partner to make you happy? So therefore, you're going to be unhappy. So first, understand, nobody can make you unhappy.
That's right.
Your unhappiness comes from a perception that the things you see around you. As I said before, if as a man you want a relationship, you need to know what you want. Right? You need to go get some help and find out the values, the things that you value. And from when I work with me, there are 4 things that are very important. That's it. When you have these values, listen to me carefully. When you have these values and you've done some work on yourself, then you know how to love yourself. Right. Then you're happy with yourself.
That's
you
right.
don't need to go look for anybody to make you happy.
Absolutely.
1. Secondly, now, since you're in that state now where you have your values, you've done your cleaning up and all the fears and anxieties and whatever you have, and you know what compassion means, and you know what it's like to say sorry when you know you're not wrong. You know what it's like to be stupid, meaning yes, I understand. I don't have a big ego, and you know how to control your anger and all those other things, right? When you have that, when you're in that state, the person you're looking for will find you. You don't have to even go looking for the person.
Wow.
But you need to do the work on yourself. You need to understand that you have a problem. You understand your conditioning has caused you to be where you are, and that nobody can ever make you happy, unhappy. It's impossible. As long as you understand that, then you're happy, you go about your work, and the perfect person will come into your life.
The reason why I'm shaking my head and smiling is because when I first started working with you 2.5 years ago, I had that mindset of this and that and everything outside of myself. And then we quickly realized that, yes, this and that is a reality. We're not going to be delusional, pretend that that situation didn't happen, but it starts with me. And then as I've been going through this healing and level up, shall I say, journey, um, it's really helped out a lot. So we have a couple minutes. Do you have any creative exercises that people can do? Let's go back to that married or long-term or dating person where they're feeling very frustrated. They think they're doing everything. They're doing therapy, they're watching videos, they're being kinder, but nothing seems to be working out with their partner. What creative exercises can they do during this time?
Well, there's no creative exercises. Let me get it quite. You come to me. Let's get clear here. There's nothing creative about this.
Mhm.
If you have an issue, the first thing you need to do is you need to have some clarity.
Right.
Right? You need to stop and ask yourself, how am I creating the problem? What am I doing to create the problem? That's where you got to start. Nobody can
Mm,
help you. You
right.
can't go to a therapist or somebody and say, well, what do I do? You need to understand that you created the problem.
Right.
And if you understand, you have the no. The beautiful thing, if you understand, you create the problem. The beautiful thing is about you can fix it.
That's right.
Okay, so this is not something that's negative. You understand you have. So when you go to get help now, you're open to receive.
Mhm.
So if you're not open to receive, nobody can help you.
Right.
So there's no fantastic way, no simple way. It is you got a problem, admit you have the problem. Now what do I do about it? And when you can answer that question, you will start to move all on your own and things will happen. But
Right.
there's no magic pill. No blue pill or red pill you can take that's going to solve the problem.
Absolutely. If anybody's on the line, if you have any questions, leave them below. Again, thank you, Mr. Tahar, for that question. We'll get back to you once I can do some translation on the LinkedIn app. And any comments, any feedback, let us know in the comments. We have a couple minutes here. Anybody watching the replay, please leave your comments while you're watching this video. Let us know what your thoughts are, what you're feeling. Maybe you want to provide an example of what you're going through in your love relationship and you'd like Cecil to reply. And for those who are a little bit, maybe you're introverted, you want to go anonymous and you don't want to leave a public comment, you can send Cecil a message, send me a message, and we'll do our best to give you some insights on what you can or do next to reflect on, etc. So any last words or words of inspiration or gems of wisdom, Cecil?
Well, all I need to say is that my simple way of saying is when you're out and about, stop and have a conversation with people.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter who it is. And this I've been doing this now for many years. But the beautiful thing about it is when you stop and practice having a conversation with a stranger, then when you get back in your home in your relationship, you get better at it. That's one. But secondly, when you stop and have a conversation, as long as you're open and you're compassionate and you just want to share, you might be the first kind word that person have heard for the whole month, right? So just make a contribution back to the sun is there. You enjoy the sun, the water, the grass, and whatever. Well, what do you give back to the universe? Just
Mm-hmm.
have a conversation, share something with them, get them to laugh, whatever. As simple as that. That's all you have to do. And what that does for you, it teaches you how to have conversations with people you don't know with no expectations. As you
Right.
start to develop that, when you go back to your relationship now, you can have a conversation without raising your voice, without getting upset. But
Right.
this is just the basics. You can just have a conversation. That's all you need to do. And secondly, when you have a conversation, it's surprising that one of the issues you might have, the person you're having a conversation with usually has the answer or can refer you to someone.
That's true.
So that's a simple. Everything you do with me is very simple. There's nothing fancy here. It's the truth.
Right. Thank you so much, Cecil. This has been a very insightful conversation. Thank you for answering my questions. I was doing my best to just think of some of these pop culture moments and not just focusing on the coupled up people, but the single people that are just going through a rut and they can't find somebody or whatever their situation is. So, again, anybody who might be watching this, press the follow button, connect with Cecil and I. Leave your comments, leave your questions, leave your examples. We'll do our best to get back to you. And thank you so much for your Sunday moment and your time. All of you could be doing a lot of different things, but you came here to watch us. So thank you, Cecil, and thank you everybody else on the line.
You're welcome. Thanks very much for being here, and it's an honor to serve you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.